This is Eastman's Elevated Podcast. I have on great guests that are really knowledgeable, consistently successful. We're able to dive deep down the rabbit holes of these different subject matters of shooting, of physical fitness, of mental toughness and drive. All the different skills that make up a complete hunter that you can become.
Here's your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Got a brand new Eastman's Elevated for you. So on today's podcast, I have back on my friend Matt Tillotson. So Matt's, he's a fairly young guy, but wise beyond his years, as he's had a ton of Western hunting success for mule deer, for elk. I would say his passion really lies for mule deer, but the guy's just constantly working to get better and to improve and to have his best season yet. And so I always really enjoy getting him on the podcast and having an in-depth conversation to see what he's up to. He's got some great tags this year and just some great insight and value to what it takes to be consistently successful. So I really enjoyed today's conversation. I'm sure you guys will too. We'll get right into it. I just want to thank a couple sponsors. I want to thank Savage Arms. Savage builds the most accurate out-of-the-box rifles that I've ever had my hands on. Really impressed how their rifles get along with different ammo types and just the accuracy. They have a bunch of different models for all your preferences, and so the ones the guys like at the office are the 110 Ultralight. It's a lightweight mountain hunting rifle. It's got a synthetic stock, and it's got other key features like an Accu trigger so you can adjust the trigger pull yourself. It also has an Accu stock where you can adjust the length of pull and the comb height to fit you perfectly for the rifle. And they're just good shooting rifles. I have one built up that I really like that I've got this Sig Sauer scope on, and honestly it took me like a handful of shots to have the thing sighted in and then tested groups out to long range, and the thing is just absolutely shooting. So just great rifles. You can check out those. They also have some budget models as well, so you don't have to spend a pile of money to get into a really good Western hunting rifle. So if you're in the market for a new rifle, make sure to check these guys out, as I think it builds just a great Western hunting rifle over there at Savage Arms, and thanks to those guys for their support. I also want to thank Silencer Central. So Silencer Central builds suppressors for your rifles. So they have a bunch of different models as well. I think the one that best fits us Western hunters is they have a banished backcountry. Super lightweight. I think it's like 7 ounces. And then it's also very small as well. Like the length of it is 5.5 inches. I think these things come into play. Like it's going to make less noise when you shoot at an animal, so you may be able to get a second shot or a follow-up shot on that animal. That's really good on your hearing. I know we all want to continue to hear bugles until late in our life, and the more we're around loud rifles, the worse it is for our hearing. And so this silencer will definitely help with that as well. And just you're not going to get the kick off your rifle. It's going to suppress that a little bit, which is also going to make you hold on target better and more accurate. So if you guys are in the market for it, check them out at Silencer Central. Those guys can help you get the threads on the end of your rifle. They can help you with the approval process and paperwork and get you on the list to get you this rifle for Western hunting. So make sure to check them out. Again, that's Silencer Central. I also want to thank Black Ovis. Black Ovis is an internet retail shop that has absolutely everything you need for your next hunt. They carry all the top name brands as well as their own name brand. So hunting with Clint a couple weeks ago, he had a bunch of their name brand stuff, and I was impressed at the quality, and he was saying he really likes it. So you can go check those guys out, save a little bit of money. I think Dylan, my hunting buddy, also had a pair of puffy pants last time I saw him from Black Ovis. So they have a bunch of quality gear, and you can save 10% off your order by putting in the code ELEVATED10. So 10%, you think of like an order on a season of trying to upgrade some gear. 10% is quite a bit of savings, and so make sure you use that promo code if you order anything from them. I also want to thank Camo Fire. Camo Fire is an app where they have 80 new hunting deals that come up every 24 hours. A lot of overstock items here, but it's all top name brands. You can save a pile of money if you watch that app and watch these deals come through. So check those guys out over at Camo Fire. And with that, over at Eastmans, me and Dan are rolling on that new podcast, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal, Life of a Bow Hunter. Really proud at how that's coming out. Just a great chemistry, great conversations, and we're able to dive a little bit further in depth on archery subjects. So the last episode's a good one. It's episode 7. And we talk about our biggest bulls to date and some of the things we did right, and some of the things that we've learned in our evolution of bow hunting over the last handful of years, and how that really showed up during these encounters of being clutch on these big bulls. So made for a great conversation. It's on its own feed. You have to go search for it wherever you're listening to podcasts. You can also find it on YouTube as well. So check that out. Check out the mule deer course. Everything I've learned and know the last 25 years of hunting mule deer. So you can find that if you search Eastman's Mule Deer Course, put in the promo code BrianMDC. That'll save you 10% on that. For the money it costs, it's such a value. And when I was really in my learning stage, although I'm always a student of the game and always learning, but when I was younger coming into Western hunting, I know I would read every book on mule deer and elk and just trying to obtain this knowledge. And I remember I paid more than that for Mike Eastman's book that was out of publishing. For this mule deer course, it's $100. You put in that promo code, it's $90. I paid more for that, more for Mike Eastman's book than you have to pay for that mule deer course, and it's over 100 hours of video format, which makes it easy to digest different chapters, so you can kind of jump around. Really proud how it came out. So make sure to check out that. Everything we're doing at Eastman's, we're getting ready to release some new Beyond the Grids. We got Dan's 2 big bulls. We've got me a mule deer hunt Nevada. Also got an elk hunt coming up. So should be good content for you, so make sure to check that out. And with that, let's get into this podcast. It's a good one with Matt. And I'm your host, Brian Barney. Eastman's Elevated. Here we go.
Heck yeah.
Need that. Good, man. Looks like you've been keeping busy working on your videos, looks like, huh?
Yeah. I've upgraded some camera equipment, and you know how we kind of were talking about cameramen and stuff like that. I think I've got that one guy coming with me this fall, but when I don't know, just when I'm by myself, I want to make sure and capture good video. And I picked up a GoPro 11 black, and it does pretty well. It's got good video, and I like the audio. The problem with just using my iPhone as my audio, you get that background noise a lot, and it's hard to. That GoPro just seems to do a little better on audio, so that I was pretty excited about that. You can even hear like the birds and stuff in the background, and it's just cool. It's really neat. I've been kind of working on some video editing equipment and some of that kind of stuff. I don't want to get too crazy because I don't want that to be the focus, but yeah, definitely been working on it a little bit.
Yeah, well, you're going to take your YouTube channel to the next level. It looks like spending a little bit on equipment, and then, it seems like anything with that video is just like working with it. And the more you edit, like I saw you edited a little piece for like a scouting trip, like the more you edit, the more you realize like the shots you need and the how to tell the story better, don't you?
Yeah, there's definitely a technique to it. I mean, it's one thing to just go out and hunt. I mean, and sometimes I just do that, and it's kind of a relief actually, because my brain's not thinking about all the scenic views and trying to process the video part of it. And so it's just like go out and kill something. That's not the easy part, but it's easier than trying to make tell a story about it too. So yeah, it's coming along. I'm pretty excited about this year. The season's coming together, and this little, my YouTube channel's not very big yet, and I kind of, the following that I do have is pretty loyal, so I don't want to make it explode and then get to be something that I didn't want to happen. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this, the way the season's turning out. Yeah, man. How about you? What are you? I kind of been following you on your the Life of the Bowhunter podcast, and then this one, and it sounds like you got a pretty good season coming up.
Yeah, it is a good season. Yeah, man, I'm super stoked. Yeah, I can't wait. Just get a little work done here and affairs in order, and time to cut these legs loose for fall. So yeah, I got some good muley tags and one elk tag here in Montana that I'll put a bunch of focus in, and antelope tag. Found out I got that the other day, which is good.
It's great, man. Good.
Yeah, it's usually a guarantee here in Montana for us residents, but as tags get tougher and tougher, like you never know until you see the successful sign around your name, and those things are like so good at sharpening my skills right before a lot of these muley hunts and elk hunts and things. So yeah, stoked for that. And yeah, got some good early season, good late season. So just a mix and match of like good adventures, and also like places I've been and places I haven't been. And so yeah, it should be fun.
Well, that's exciting, man. That's that'll be fun. I've always, the antelope thing's been intriguing to me, just like you were talking about sharpening your skills, and I just haven't done it. I've been so focused on mule deer lately, and just getting those. I was lucky enough, I drew, I'm now a Wyoming resident. I've been here a couple years now, and with the winter kill and everything, it's going to be tougher, but I am a resident in Wyoming, so I can pick up a general deer tag here. And then I am also that lifetime Idaho resident, or I have a lifetime Idaho license. And so I can pick up an Idaho general, and then I drew Colorado. So my season's going to be pretty intense, I think. That first month of, the month of September is going to be just running and gunning the whole time. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. What was that Colorado tag you picked up? Was it archery or was it rifle?
I've never been down there.
Oh,
so
1 second, Matt. Hey, it disconnected there for a second. Can you just start over and I'll edit that out?
Yeah.
I had just asked you if it was a bow or a rifle, and then you were going into it. For some reason, I lost connection. I'm not sure why.
Oh yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, so it's that hunt's a muzzleloader hunt, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's it's way up there in the high peaks of Colorado, and so I've always wanted to check that area out, and I hear it can be pretty hard. I mean, I drew it with 1 point, so it's going to be, and there's a lot of tags down there, so I don't know. I mean, we're going to give it a good effort. My dad and I both drew it, and it'll be a lot of fun. We'll see if we can get some altitude sickness when we're down there, and enjoy that too. So
yeah, you're gonna get the full experience. Right on, man. Well, that doesn't surprise me a bit. It's like you're always looking for every opportunity to go hunt mule deer, and that muzzleloader sure offers some good opportunities across the West. As I look across the West, a lot of times the muzzleloader tags are easier to draw than the archery tags now. And in Colorado, you've got to use like no sights, right? Or I don't know all the rules. What are the rules for muzzleloaders in Colorado?
So it's a traditional, open sights. There's certain rules and regulations. It's basically Idaho's rules. And so coming from Idaho, into Wyoming, I'm used to that. And so I'm just taking my muzzleloader I had it set up in Idaho and taking it down there. It's got a certain, you can't use like sabots. And I mean, honestly, as far as the ranges go, some guys can get out there to, I don't know, 150 yards or 200 yards, but my gun is about max is like 120, maybe 110. So it's pretty much a glorified bow. But, and honestly, the musket caps that I use, sometimes they don't go off. So like you're kind of, that arrow is going to fly. I mean, when you draw back, that arrow's going. But the muzzleloader, you can get some moisture in those caps or whatever ignition system you're using, and it can be a guessing game if you're on that big buck and if that trigger, that load's going to go off. So it can be stressful and it can be disappointing, but also pretty rewarding. That bull last year I killed with the muzzleloader in Idaho, and it's not the same as archery, I guess. You're still have a loaded weapon. You don't have to draw and process that and wait for them to turn, all that kind of thing. But it's of that degree of difficulty.
I bet it's got like its own unique set of challenges for sure. Man, good job taking that bull last year. Like you gotta work with those things too and practice with them, and you gotta know all your weapons, right? It's like I just ran into like a really good hunter that's killed a bunch of animals, and he was talking about missing a couple bears this year with his rifle, under pressure and trying to put films together, and it's like, man, misses can just happen so easy. Like we talk about it, and sitting in my office or like sitting in your house and talking about a miss, it seems like so far from reality. It's like we plan out our seasons. Like this year you've got 3 muley tags you're going for, and you don't really think about missing too often. It's just like, oh, I'm gonna get there and have to work hard, and it's gonna be a tough hunt. But the reality is like even for the best of us, it's really easy to airball an animal. Just that loss in focus or that fog of adrenaline, you're making quick decisions. It's easy to airball something, and man, that it sure takes you to like a different low during season, doesn't it? I'm sure you've missed before, huh?
Jeez. Oh yeah. Yes, man. I've missed. I'll tell you what. Like, you say this all the time in your podcasts and stuff, but like we fail. Like all of us fail. Just the guys that are killing bigger bucks or killing bucks at all, we fail more. Like really, that's the thing. And we've learned, and we try and not fail. We try and not make the same mistakes, but we still do. And like just the other day, even making that little film that I did, I have this rule that I do not go down the ravines. Like I don't do that. That's my like hard, fast rule. Do not go down the bottom of the canyon. And for some reason I ended up just like, I made it to the bottom of the canyon, and I'm just like, I've made this mistake 20 times and I try to limit those mistakes, but I do this over and over again. And the mountains they kind of bring out the worst and they bring out the best in people. And so, talking about misses last year in Utah, I had that big miss on that, I don't know, 190 buck and with the bow at 30 yards and it hit that little twig. And, since just like we were talking about, you don't plan on missing ever. And that really, really affected my whole hunt there. For two days or so, I was just in this slump, and it's kind of, you almost have to prepare for a miss. And I don't like thinking about that, but you have to prepare for those moments and mentally prepare to be able to pull yourself out of it again. And so that's why we practice. I mean, I was out this morning before this podcast, but I did a run. I woke up a little late. I had a buddy that came over and I woke up a little late, and he was like, dude, I missed you. So I was pushing it hard this morning, and then got back and was shooting my bow, and man, my pin was not settling this morning, and I was just like, what? And maybe I'm just kind of nervous for the podcast, or I don't know. I mean, you get your mind thinking about other things, but yeah, this morning my pin was not settling very well, and then finally I calmed myself down. I like eliminated all these things in my mind and dropped one right in there. But yeah, I mean, I think this year could be pretty epic as far as mule deer goes. I think so. I'm going to try and drop one with a bow in Wyoming, I hope, that first week. And then this muzzleloader Colorado hunt starts the 9th down there. And so I'll probably just, if I can get it done in Wyoming here, I'll pack up and head to Colorado with the muzzleloader. And then in Idaho, I'll try and get my rifle and kill one. So the goal this year is 3 180 bucks. With 3 different weapons in 3 different states. That's the goal, and that would be super cool. It'd be a neat thing to make happen, I think.
Oh, dude, it'd be the coolest. Well,
Yeah.
You're definitely the man to do it. I really like your point about, like, it's not preparing to miss a shot, but you have to prepare yourself for, like, heartache and, like, for the pain and for picking yourself back up, because there's definitely going to be highs and lows on a hunt. Like, we know that. We've been on enough of these things. We know there's going to be lows. We just don't know what those lows are going to be. And yeah, you got to pull yourself out of the hole. And I was thinking about it too. I did like one of those summits last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I come in and there's a lot of guys that want to shoot a better score than me, and rightfully so. Like, I'm competitive as well, and I don't want to let those guys shoot a better score than me. So
yeah,
the
dude,
first,
you're the masters, so they're like, hey, we're gonna try and beat this guy.
well, yeah, and that's it. And so, like, as I was walking through, I shot the first day. I shot really good the first day, like a near perfect score. I think I was like 4 points off a near perfect score. And so, I was shooting really well. The pin was holding really well. Everything was executing. I didn't have to go through any of the lows. Like, I just shot really good, and everything was flowing. And, as I went through, I started thinking, like, as I saw a guy miss a target and, like, he was shooting really good and he's a great shooter and he made a mental error, and, whether it was didn't dial right for the target, I think he didn't get the right range on a distant mule deer with grass sticking up in front of it, and so just like talking with him about it, and I'm like, well, as bad as that hurts and the slump that you're in, like, this stuff happens. It's like you have to be able to pick yourself up from a miss, and now you've got to be able to refocus your mind to be able to execute a good shot and earn another opportunity, and it's so much easier said than done. And then, the second day we went out, so we had backpacked like, I don't know, 8 or 9 miles of shooting this course, and Lampers makes you shoot with a full pack on, which isn't my normal practice routine with my bow. So I got to the second day and, slept that night. And the second day, I was just fatigued and tired. And the pin was not aiming like you were talking about. And so, it made for a struggle as that pin. There was a lot more movement in it, and I just never got that calm shot that I had the day before. So I really had to, like, battle through it in my mind, and I still ended up not shooting any 5s, and they were all kill shots, and, my score may have been 10 points down from the first day or whatever, but it was almost a better day of shooting because I was so fatigued, my bow wasn't aiming right, and I continued to execute those shot after shot. And it just made me think of, like, battling through. The second day was my better day of shooting because I had to battle through and battle against my own mind and, put a, aim at a shot and have it break and have it not hit the middle and then have to be okay with that and get on to the next shot. So I thought that was actually better for me than the first day. And it just reminded me the pain of missing, like how bad that hurts, like when you miss an animal that you've been after for days and he's your dream animal and you duff the shot shot, I mean, the pain of that and the lows that takes you, especially like how much it means to us. And it's not like having like your family sick or something like that, but boy, in the moment, it sure feels like it, and it just reminds me like how I want to avoid that moment at all costs. And I know I'll miss again in my hunting career, but it also reminds me like, how I really need to think about my execution on the hunt and how I really need to be clutch in these moments when I get these shots at animals. And the reality is like a lot of times I do miss and have to chase redemption and still get a buck, but man, you're only going to get so many opportunities in a season or in a hunt. And really, the great bow hunters are good at capitalizing on those opportunities, and so, it just put it in the forefront of my mind. So as I was giving my talk to the summit attendees, I just talked about like being clutch and like thinking about your execution on an animal through the duration of the hunt and like your shot process and what you're going to do when you do get that opportunity. And then all the way through to right before you get that opportunity. I think it's so important to keep this present mind and to think about your execution and think how you're going to put that animal in, and even visualizations when you lay down at night, like picturing that animal broadside and executing that shot and putting it in it. I just think like all these steps that we can take to avoid that heartache and that pain and being clutch in the season, because man, it's drastically different, like the feeling when you make a shot to the feeling when you miss a shot, right?
Dude, and that's what we're just like, we're all looking for that success. Like that's, I mean, we respect the animals, but really part of hunting is just like proving to yourself that you can do extremely hard, difficult things and be able to come out on top and be able, we kind of talk about this a lot, you and I, is like that physical and then the mental side of it. But like, just being able to process things in a healthy way, a mature, healthy way, and especially in disappointments, like getting cliffed out is a big one. Missing a shot is a big one. Not finding animals is a big one. Getting stormed out is another one. Just being able to process sleeping in the cold, freezing all night. There's so many disappointments and difficulties out there, and then but we've a lot of us have tasted that success, and once you do that and you're packing that buck out or bull or whatever, it's an amazing feeling at the end. But yeah, definitely so last time we talked, I've been working on my bow. I mentioned to you I had a little bit of target panic kind of creep into my technique and process. And so I told you I was going to just be out every single day, as much as I could, trying to work on that. And what I found as far as myself here is, it's a mental game for me a little bit. I think if I've got other things happening in my life that stressful, at work or inside my family or whatever's going on, that can really, really affect my shooting, and it can affect just my focus, I guess. And so when I'm out there, shooting my bow or muzzleloader or rifle or something, it almost magnifies all of those stresses and complicates things. And then on top of that, like when we're out hunting, it's taken so much effort to get to that point. It'll make or break you that moment. That'll be the moment that you are just like, okay, I've got to this point. I'm done. Like I'm focused. Like I don't need to worry about this shot, and it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden it doesn't happen, So those moments are pretty big, but I've been with my bow, at least out there, I try and not shoot a whole bunch of times, because if I don't hit the center spot every time, I start chasing a vapor trail as far as like, do I need to adjust my bow, or maybe there's a little bit more wind or whatever. And I know this Matthews is on, like I know it is set, and there can be a little adjustments here and there, but 90% of the time it's just me, or it's the angle or something, my bow was canted a little bit, or there's a little breeze that came up or something like that. And so I try not to put it all on the weapon. I try and mentally figure out what's going on and what I can do better there. But yeah, that'll make or break you, that shot moment, for sure.
Man, it will. You're right. Our conversations usually go to the mental side of things. I think we both realize like how important it is, right? It's just like all starts and ends with the mind, and if you can wrap your mind around it, like you can accomplish anything. And just like you're saying, I love the way you stated, to be able to take those lows in a healthy thought process, like whether it's pressure or not finding game or being stuck down in a bottom that you promised yourself you'd never walk down into. The country just filtered you down into that canyon again. It looked pretty gnarly down in there. And I'm the same way, so you just gotta like handle those in a healthy manner. I think that was like a good way to state it. But yeah, as far as the mind, like the mind's going to be what carries you through to the finish line or not. It's like that is the breaking point. And you definitely, like a strong body, they coincide with each other. So if you're in great physical shape, you're going to recover good at night. You're going to have a healthy mindset in the morning, where, if you're not in good shape, you're going to be dragging in the morning and not feel good, which means that your mindset's not going to be right. But having that healthy mindset, and it's, like this positive mental attitude, like this fortitude, and just believing in yourself, that you can do it and accomplish it, and then to believe in the cause, to keep pushing forward until you reach that goal. But yeah, it's like handling that stuff. You're going to get all these chances in life, like before season ever starts, to have these lows or these shortcomings or these things you're upset about, and to be able to work through them in your own mind. And like, you just come up with like the silver lining, like the Jocko saying, good, it's like you go in there and find a bunch of guys in your hunting spots, like, good, well, I wanted to explore other spots anyways. Or, you get bad weather. It's like, well, good, this will be tough weather. This will toughen me up. I'll have to spend a couple days in the tent, but other guys are going to fold. And when this storm breaks, I'm going to be here to find that critter. Dude, just being able to like find the silver lining, or find like the positive mental attitude, or, oh, there's no animals here. It's like, good, I wanted to put a bunch of miles and have this be a tough hunt anyways, because the tough hunts are way more rewarding than the easy hunts. In fact, I don't have easy hunts for a reason, because I enjoy the grit and the challenge and the toughness. Like, those ones mean more to me than anything. So I seek those out. I seek out tough country. I seek out tough hunts and tough animals, because, that's what I get the most out of as well. And so I think just trying to be in this positive mental space no matter what happens to you, and just having confidence in yourself that you can overcome it and realize it. And, what's the, you dream all year about these hunts, and you think about the hardships you're going to face, but it just hits different when you get there. These highs and lows hit harder when you get there. And so you may prepare all season and have your body right and your mind right and shooting lights out, and you get on these hunts, and pretty soon the mind's like looking for an easy way out, or looking to quit early, or to make up an excuse why you weren't successful. And it's like, that's what a real resilient mind is, or making like this strong mind is like being able to recognize it and go, well, no, I've been waiting all year for this. Surely I'm going to hike into a new drainage, or, I'm going to be on that vantage point at first light, and I will turn up a buck. And it's amazing, like, how many times just this inner belief and this positive mental attitude, where it just works out, and you end up turning up a buck and able to put them down, whether it's with a rifle or with a bow. But it is amazing, like, how much control your mind has over your actions, or over the success of a hunt.
Yeah, it does. So I'll just give an example this morning. And this just happened, but like, so my buddy, Billy Kennington, he lives here in Afton, Wyoming, and he's an awesome mule deer hunter. But last night we're like, hey, what do you want to do? Every week we do something to kind of work out and just get in shape. And so I texted him last night. I was like, dude, let's go on a run at 5. And he's like, okay. So we were planning it. And he was supposed to run to my house. He's a couple miles away. And then I was going to run to his house. And then he was going to stay because he had to go to work. And then I was going to run back. So, for a couple miles, 4 miles or something. And I set my alarm last night. I was like, okay, I'm good. Well, I wake up this morning at 6 and I see 3 texts on my phone, and it's like, dude, where are you? Dude, what's going on? Like, he's like, and he was here. I had set my alarm for 5 p.m., not 5 a.m.
I have made that mistake.
And, dude, I was like, you got to be kidding me, And he's like, I text him back like, where are you at? And he goes, I'm home. So he had ran all the way here and all the way back. And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, anyways. But I got up in a panic because, we're going to be on this podcast at 7. And I was like, I still need to get out. So I like busted downstairs, get my shoes on, and I pushed myself so hard this morning. Like, I was like 20 minutes before this podcast, I was just coughing up. I mean, I was not able to speak, but I took that, like, the whole time I was running, I was thinking like, man, this is disappointing. Like, my buddy, I don't know what he's thinking about me, like, geez, this is not like the way I am, and, so I took, but then when I got back and I had pushed myself so hard, I sat down on the deck and I was like, I can look at this as a positive thing too. I missed out on an opportunity, but because I was late, I pushed myself way past probably what I would have done if I was just cruising along, an hour. I had a couple hours in time. So I mean, if you look at the positives in everything, there's so many positives in life, and when we miss a buck out there in the mountains, we're still in the mountains. It's a cool thing, just to be out there. So I don't know. I mean, we always kind of go back to the mental side, and maybe I just process things that way a little more, and maybe, we don't hardly ever talk about equipment and a lot of the physical side, probably just because we know that it takes that. And maybe the mental side's kind of my weakness, or the thing that I need to work on the most, or whatever. But I've been gearing up a lot though. Like, I've been getting some new sleep systems and some lightweight stuff, and just doing. I sleep out in the dirt now. Like, I just have like a bivy sack, and I think we talked about that last year. But yeah, it's been cool getting some new lightweight equipment for this season. I feel like what I've been doing is trying to put together equipment packages for each state, Wyoming first, Colorado, and then Idaho. And every state has a little different gear, a little different setup. But I think early Wyoming, I'm going to just sleep in a deer bed, and I've got this little tarp and stuff that goes over. But yeah, I mean, it takes all facets of the hunt, the equipment, physical, and mental side to make it come together. But when it does come together, it sure is worth it, isn't it?
Oh, dude, it's the best. Yeah, it's the best. It's like you've climbed Everest, or that is our Everest, that we train for all year round. What a great example this morning, too. I could feel your pain when you woke up late. Like, there's nothing worse than, like, making a commitment to somebody, and then, or even a commitment to yourself, and then, like, it doesn't happen. You make a mistake and you sleep in, and you wake up, like you said, you wake up in a panic, and you just feel like a heel. Like, that's not the way you live your life, and that's not what you do, is make engagements and then not show up for a run. And so you just feel like a heel. But all you can do, like, it's like missing a buck. You can't have it back. Like, all you can do is your actions moving forward. And so, like, what a great job of texting your buddy and going, dude, I'm such an idiot. I set my alarm wrong. I'm so sorry. Good job getting out on your run. And then just getting out the door and getting out for a run. And, I'm sure you were tough on yourself. You're beating yourself up for half the run, like, God, why did I
Yep.
do that? Or why did, and then, you're pushing so hard because of it. But then you get back and you're like, man, it's all okay. Like, I'm still friends with that guy. I got in a great workout. I pushed really hard. Like, I overcame, setting my alarm wrong. Like, man, it's fine. I'm going to jump on the podcast and we're going to have a good conversation this morning. But it's like that's it. Like, you have all these examples of where you can have this positive outlook in life, like throughout your day or throughout your training before you ever get to the hunt. And I think it's like that training of the mind that then comes into play once you're on the hunt and you do have some of those heartaches or those lows that we're talking about. So yeah, man, that's like a perfect example of like a daily test to like spin it positive. And same thing with me is I deal with a ton of stress and these custom homes, there's always some issue coming up. But I can't go back in the past. All I can do is handle it the best of to the best of my abilities, and like let the cards fall where they do. And sitting there worrying about it isn't going to do me anything. So it's like, okay, take action, solve the problem, and get on with my day. Don't feel bad about it. That's just like a great example. So yeah, man, it's that's awesome. You're getting your gear system for these different hunts. You're right. Is like especially as you're hunting 3 different weapons in different seasons as well, it is like you're gonna face different temperature, different climate, and different durations for these hunts. And so yeah, it's trying to find like the best gear system for each hunt. But especially like you're not a huge frame guy, as I'm not either, and that weight is such an equalizer when you have to pack miles in elevation in the mountains. And so you get to be like a minimalist. Like, what can I survive in the mountains with, or what's the minimal amount of gear and weight I can take and still be effective in the mountains? Like, for me, it's not comfort. I'm not going to bring an 8-pound tent or something. I'm going to figure out the lightest way to do it, because I just know the difference for me between a 40 and 45 pound pack or a 45 and a 50 pound pack is a whole bunch of exertion and sore legs, and like then mental strain in the morning when I get up, because I have exerted myself so hard. And so, man, I'm always trying to keep that pack weight down. And we can't go out and afford to just buy the world, but what we can do is like upgrade a couple pieces of our gear every year. And so, yeah, I think like sleeping in the deer bed like that, the bivy sack with the tarp, or like a bivy tent, like I use that Stone Glacier one quite a bit. That's 1.5 pounds, and it's a modular system where actually the minimal weight is under 1 pound if I just take the bare minimum of that shelter. And so, yeah, I think it really is like looking at your gear and figuring out, what you can take and what you can't. And I've been at, like, I remember showing up to Nevada one time, and I had e-scouted it. I hadn't been down there for a scouting trip, and it was a new range, and I just figured, okay, I'm going to take off from this trailhead, and I had this ridge line that went a long ways, and I showed up to the trailhead, and man, there was 100 rigs in the trailhead, and there was bow hunters getting their bows ready and their packs ready, and I mean, I was just overwhelmed, right? And I show up, and then guys are asking me where I'm going to go, and it's like, man, I don't know where I'm going to go. I just showed up here. I don't even know what the country looks like. And so I'm just being bombarded by these hunters. So like I instantly took my pack that I had all packed up, ready to go, and I started dumping weight. Like I pulled out my stove, I pulled out any cooked food, I went dry food. Like I started cutting that pack weight down to like under 40 pounds for the 10-day hunt or the 8-day hunt or whatever I was there for, because I knew I was going to have to put a bunch of miles in. And then I just hit the trail, and I mean, I didn't even start looking for deer until I put 8-10 miles behind me. But eventually I was able to find my own drainages and my own bucks to chase, and ended up arrowing a buck like late into the hunt, and then had one of my biggest pack outs to make it back to the truck there. But it just like I started dumping weight and started going minimalist, because I knew I'd have to cover miles, and I knew every pound would count, and able to ditch the weight, cover a bunch of miles, and eventually kill a buck out of a parking lot with 100 guys in it. It's like, it's crazy, but the right setup for the right place is sure advantageous. And so it's like, I think it's good to go through that gear with a fine-tooth comb and lay it all out. And then like you're doing, like the scouting missions tell you so much about the country and finding the deer, but it's also like, it's also training. Like, to go for a bonsai weekend up into the mountains takes toughness and grit. That same toughness and grit you're going to need on a hunt, but it gets you comfortable with, like, sleeping out in the mountains. It gets you comfortable with your gear. And even as much as you think through your gear and make a kit for a certain place, like, until you get out there and use that gear, you'll still make tweaks to it, like on these scouting missions. But I love the scouting because I can put on a bunch of miles in a mountain range. I'm sleeping in deer beds here and there. I'm testing my gear. It's also like gets my mind right, my body right for the mountains. Like, those scouting trips are so imperative to, like, preparing for the season. I think it, like, gives me a leg up. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's, just even this little weekend trip that I went. So we took the camper up the canyon, and then the kids we stayed up late, cooking marshmallows and whatever. And then I busted out super early, and went way up on the mountain. And anyways, I packed pretty much my pack that I would take in the fall. And my goal was just to use a lot of this equipment's new. And so I wanted to use it and figure out what was worth it, what was the keep, what was the take, what was the modify. And I think just getting out and using your equipment and actually really using it in a manner in which you're going to use it in the fall, you'll find out that even like tents, tarps, sleeping bags, there's a lot of things that you do not need. You need a sleeping bag, I'll tell you that. But
you definitely do, yeah.
You definitely need that. But like, even this little tripod that I had on this GoPro, it didn't work. Like, it didn't work well, and it didn't fit in the pack very well. And so I modified it. I got another tripod, and one that I had used a long time ago. It's super old and whatever. But I think the scouting trips, not only just getting your mind right, but also getting your equipment to the point where it's usable. Like, a lot of guys will, run down to the Western Summit, or the Western, not the hunting expo, not the Western Summit, and buy a bunch of brand new gear, or even just online or whatever, and it sits in a pack until fall. Well, there's a day's worth of, learning, at least, just trying to figure out how to use it. And on top of that, use it in different conditions, use it in a storm, or use it. And so just recommend taking a pack out, the pack you're going to take out in the fall, and using all your gear in just a scouting trip, is definitely worth the trip, And like we were talking weight, I am not a big guy. I only weigh like 155, 160 pounds. And so even straps on my pack, anything that's extra, because I'm so skinny, like I've got like a foot of strap that's hanging off, from all these tightening all the straps on my backpack. I tend to cut those off, just trying to make it, just as efficient as possible, and get out there and use it. And definitely, I think, especially like here in Wyoming, this is now my home state, and I don't know a lot of the areas. And so for me, this summer is going to be really important, just getting out and finding where to go, because you can e-scout, but it just doesn't do the same. It doesn't look the same as when you're out there. Like, I got cliffed out this weekend too, and I got on my Onyx, and it just looks like the topography, the lines are way far apart. So I was like, oh yeah, that's just an easy little saddle, that's cake. And so I get up on this big knob and cut across there, and there's a 15-foot cliff, and I don't know if just the topography, like the imagery or something, didn't pick it up. I don't know how that all works, but like it was definitely not, I wasn't going to be able to get around, and I had to go all the way down the canyon, because it was one of those knife ridges that ran, all the way down into the bottom. and then come all the way back up. And there was no way to get across that. So what I was thinking is like, that was my glassing knob where I was at. And I was like, okay, so if there's a buck across the canyon and on this side over here, then this knife ridge is actually going to affect my stock. Like I'm going to be exposed for a half a mile if I'm going to have to get over there. And it also went the other way. And so I was like, okay, but those are just priceless, little bits of information that you get when you get out there and scout that can help you in the fall. You know, I know that right now I am not going to glass from that knob. I'm going to get in front of that cliff edge, down off the saddle, and try and glass that basin before I try and bed a buck, you know. And so there's just cool little bits of information, and then it gets us all hyped up for the fall, and we're all excited. And I don't know, it just keeps me motivated, keeps my legs in shape, ready to go. And I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I know you get out quite a bit, don't you?
Yeah, that's so spot on. It's like just learning those tidbits of information, like downloading that information about the unit and how you're going to hunt it. I think that constant thought process is really good too. It's like problem solving, and it's like forward thinking into season, and yeah, I think these scouting trips are super important, and the longer I do this, the less scouting trips I make, which isn't a good thing. Like I want to get back to this scouting all summer and these units that I'm going to hunt. And I rely on a lot of information from previous seasons hunting in these units. And then, a lot of these spots can be 12, 16 hours away from my house where I just don't have a chance to go down there. But the scouting trips, it just gives you such a leg up on your hunts, like learning the stuff that you did, but also just learning the road systems and the trailheads and being able to predict where the hunting pressure is going to be, and then getting in the mountains. And like you say, the e-scouting and boots on the ground are just totally different things. And I spend a lot of time e-scouting, but you're right, it just always looks different when you get there. It's always bigger than you envision, and to actually put boots to ground and to go scout, you actually learn way more information than you can ever get e-scouting. It's like, you're able to see the bucks and how they interact with the landscape and where they're at and the animals. And so, dude, I do think it's so important. And I want to get back to my ways of scouting all summer, and I'll definitely make a scouting trip or two, to a couple spots that I have to check out this year. But yeah, I definitely want to do more of that scouting in the summertime, as that's the way you turn up these new locations and new spots. And once you're into season, you're going so hard to be into game animals that it can be a lot tougher to scout. But I do think like the season's knowledge is so crucial as well, because that's the actual season that you're hunting. So you're actually scouting the season that you're hunting. So that information that you learn during season, is crucial for like future planning and things as well. But yeah, I'm just fortunate where I'm hunting a lot of spots that I've been in before that I know are good, and then, I try to expand my knowledge from there, where it's like, okay, I'm going to a unit and to drainages that I've been, but how am I going to explore deeper or look farther, or where could other bucks be in this place? How can I move my camp and hunt a new area? So I'm always trying to expand my knowledge in that way too. But yeah, I think those scouting trips, like if you really want to be successful and you've drawn a good tag, whether that's elk or mule deer or whatever it is, it's like get in there and scout that thing. Those days that you put in are almost like hunt days when it comes to hunting, but you're able to get back to your house and reset and then come with a recharged battery and like more knowledge on that place when you do come for your next hunt or your next scout mission. So yeah, I think it's really important.
I think, you brought up a great point. I mean, as far as like the hunting season goes, those are days that are they're gold. Like every bit of information that you can get during season, I would record it, put it in a journal, do something, because that's when it's go time, And so I guess this, scouting for me is really important right now because I'm in a new state and then I'm hunting another new state like Colorado. But like, I guess you bring up a great point. Idaho, a lot of the places that I'm going to go, I've been there. And so I know where the springs are. I kind of know where the deer kind of congregate. Obviously, I mean, I can still scout new areas, but you're right. Like, it's once you kind of get that knowledge and mindset about where you're going to be, like, the mountains aren't going to change. You know, they're going to be the same to a degree. Things can change a little bit, fires and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think, I guess if you're going to a new area, a new state or something like that, it's the scouting seasons are super important. But banking on, previous knowledge in states or areas that you've hunted before, that's going to be probably, as or more important information, definitely.
Yeah, and it's so nice, like going back to a range this year that I drew. I haven't drawn it for 4 or 5 years, but I know the unit's just been getting better. And the last time I hunted it, it was money in there, and it's like, when I look back and I've hunted that thing, I believe I've hunted it twice and taken a couple nice bucks out of there, but those 2 times, I have a combination of 18 days of hunting in there during season, and so that knowledge is huge. And not only to hunt the exact locations and where I found bucks, but to expand my knowledge. And so, I've actually got some plans this year for some through hikes where I'll bring my dirt bike carrier and my dirt bike in the back and park that dirt bike on one end of the range and go, up the range quite a few miles, and then I'll just hunt one direction. That way I don't got to hunt back and forth on this ridgeline or focus on a small piece of this range. I can kind of through hunt, and it's a tough unit. Like, I've got to carry all my water, and so my rips into the mountains, I can only do about 3-4 days because I've got to pack all my water and it's a huge climb. So, I'm planning like a couple of these or 3 of these 3-day rips inside my hunt as my game plan, But yeah, it's definitely like this previous year's knowledge. And some of this stuff is like so tough to scout for as well. Like, it's tough to scout for elk right now because the bulls are in bachelor herds hanging high, and I try to look for cows and numbers and rubs and look for sign of where elk are rutting. But everything can change come September when the rut kicks off, and same thing for like hunting for pre-rut or rut mule deer. It's like scouting right now. You're not finding the deer where you're going to be hunting the rut. I mean, maybe you'll find some does hanging in there, but it's just a totally different place right now than it will be come the rut. But what you can learn is the vantage points and trailheads and the hikes you'll make, and you can kind of plan ahead for that. Like, this, like a rut spot that I hunt. Well, there's always a bunch of snow in there, and the roads get real tricky to drive, but I can get down there in the summertime, and I can cruise every single one of those roads and figure out where the good vantage points are and the good access points, to get to those good places where I think those deer are going to be rutting. Do I see many deer on the scouting trip? No, but I'm okay with that because they'll move in there,
Yep, that's exactly what I experienced too. Like, so these Wyoming got hit hard. That was a rough winter, and so a lot of the deer got killed, and a lot of the fawns are gone. But the area that I was at, the deer actually haven't even made it to that area yet. They're still working their way, and so like that bit of information, I wasn't too disappointed to not see as many. Because I knew they're still working their way. Although I did see quite a few, I still saw quite a few, and I was happy to see quite a few young deer, still made it through, and there's quite a few bucks and does, and so I was happy to see that. But like you're saying, if you go out and midsummer and then expect to see the same kind of movement or deer that are going to be there in late November, that's probably not going to be the same, but But yeah, dude, I love talking to you. This is great. I really enjoy, getting on. I enjoy having you kind of as a buddy to be able to text or call you anytime. And that's one of the great things about the hunting community is we all get along, or at least we all try and get along, and are able to kind of talk to each other. I was able to talk to Lambers. Is it Lampers or Lambers?
Yeah, Lampers.
Ryan?
Yep.
Lampers. I was able to talk to him a little bit at the expo, and it's cool to be able to get to know all these guys, and it's a pretty good deal. And I enjoyed this podcast, man. It's been great following along and getting to know all these new guys that you have coming on. I message them or something to try and get to know them, and they're all really good dudes, so it's pretty fun.
Man, we have like the best community, don't we? And likewise, dude.
Yeah.
I love having you on the podcast. That's why I try to have you on as much as I can, because I do really enjoy our conversations, and you're like living the life, It's like you're so driven for trophy animals, driven for trophy mule deer. You put in the work. You're able to self-analyze and look at your mindset. You're like a student of the game that's constantly soaking in information, trying to be at his very best. And so, like, when we get together, we hit it off. And I think that's the beautiful thing about the community, man. It's like we can be worlds different or live in different states and never met, but when we get together, we're just instant friends, or we have so much in common. And I find that like even like traveling to Australia, and I've got my couple good buddies there that I'm even better friends with now after spending a bunch of time with them and hunting for another couple weeks down there. They're just the greatest guys that would do anything for me, and vice versa. I would do anything for them. But then meeting their friends and being able to share a hunting camp with those guys. And we just grew up in two totally different worlds. Like Australia is a different world than the United States, or at least a different country all the way across the world. But there's still this kindred spirit. There's still like so many similarities, and you just know when you meet those guys. And not everybody in the hunting community is a great guy, but I don't know, the majority of the ones that I run into, I seem to really get along with and like and admire, and so same thing with like these Western summits. We were together with 30 guys and 5 instructors last weekend, and I consider every one of them a friend now. Like when you hang out and go share an adventure with them and have these in-depth conversations, you realize like how much you have in common, and then also everybody builds like this different hunt style, right? None of us hunt exactly the same. Like we hunt similar as other guys, but it's like you build your own hunt style. And like last weekend was the elk summit, and so there's guys that call, and there's guys that are really good at calling and kill great bulls, and then there's guys that spot and stalk like I do, and then there's all these different ideas that sometimes the speakers even contradict each other, because that's their experience in the habitat they hunt and the elk that they chase, and this is this other guy's experience in the elk that they chase and the elk that they call to, and you kind of come up with a different belief system. And the truth is that both of them work. It's like you just got to figure out your own style of hunting and your own style of decision making, and kind of figure it out for yourself, the country that you like, and the way you go about it, and the way you look for stalks. And I like to stalk early season bucks in their bed and late season bucks on their feet, and somebody can be totally different and kill just as big or as many mule deer as me. And so you kind of have to like take these tidbits of information, and then like I think the challenge is really being able to apply this information that you learn from other guys and other conversations, and be able to apply it to your own hunting and your own experiences. And I think that's what like what really furthers you as a hunter, is like being able to take in this knowledge and these tidbits and then apply it to your own experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, so it's I don't know, so like my buddy that was here this morning to go for a run, we had this exact conversation yesterday, because he hunts a little bit different than I do, and I mean, we both, I kind of have a run and gun technique, like more just really aggressive and like just like if there's a buck around, like I'm going for it. Obviously I'm not going to go in there like almost destructive, like I'm not going to do that, but I'm very aggressive, and he's more kind of patient and watches and waits for that right opportunity. But we've both killed giant deer, and we both killed lots of bucks. And so we were having this conversation, like I'm not better than you and you're not better than me. We just need to work together, and figure out, the hunting styles, and I can learn from you and you can learn from me. And that's why I also like following what you do and stuff. You're super successful hunter, and Dan Picard and those all you guys that are successful. I'm trying to learn, and we all should try and learn from successful hunters, because we may not do it exactly the same way, and our way may not be the right way to do it at that moment, or it may be, and so we're always constantly learning. But yeah, man, it's going to be a great season. Like, I am so jacked for this season. It's pretty exciting, and I'm excited to see what what you guys come up with, and definitely going to be a good one. I feel, even though the numbers are kind of down a little bit, I feel like we're gonna be okay. There's been really, really good growth, really good moisture in the west, and I think as long as we're smart and we, make good choices, and as far as taking mature deer and trying not kill out these younger deer, I think we're gonna get through this, So
that's good to hear. Yeah, I was worried about Wyoming. I heard those numbers the other day of a 70% mortality rate on adult mule deer and 100% on fawns. But I've hunted at that place after like tough winters and things, and there's just other deer that make it. And those numbers were taken off migrational routes, and I know that they're accurate, in what they're seeing. But yeah, that's good to hear your positive outlook on it. And you said something that was really important, like in that last spiel that you were given, is that like constantly learning. It's like you can learn something from anybody, and it's like just being a student of the game. It's like the joy of doing this is that it's really, really difficult. And so it requires like this total focus, this year-round work and effort just to give yourself a chance at success. But boy, if you get stuck in a rut or you stop learning, you're just going to stop this progression of a hunter and stop the learning curve. And so I think it is like just constantly being a student of the game, and that's learning from other people. I think that's learning from in the field and what you're seeing, just like you found that ribbon cliff that you couldn't make it up. And all of a sudden you're starting to theorize, well, now I can't look from this vantage point. Now I need to be below this cliff when I look so I can make a play on a deer that I do see, so I'm not so exposed. Like this constant theorizing and creative thinking like is so crucial for success. And if you're a student of the game, there's no limit to how good you can get and what you can achieve. And I'm the same way, as I'm always learning, I'm always improving and trying to get better at all these different facets of bow hunting to be at my very best, because I know how difficult it is. But the way I train and the way my head is set, like I'm going to have the best year I've ever had. And you have the exact same mindset. Like you are always learning and always improving, and you look at yourself through this crucial lens, which you don't want to beat yourself up or focus on the negative, but you also want to be able to look at your skills objectively, or to look at the moves that you've made objectively and go, I could have played that a little bit different, or maybe next time I'll make a move this way. And you hunt aggressive like I hunt aggressive, like we were always trying to give ourselves a chance, and sometimes we push that line too far and we end up blowing out a deer that we didn't mean to, or blowing out an animal that we didn't mean to. And I notice as I get older, like older or mature as a bow hunter, like I'm able to still keep that aggressiveness, give myself a chance, but I'm also able to develop more patience. Like if the situation isn't right, I believe in myself to wait for a better situation, or I push hard, but I don't like you were saying, I'm not reckless. I'm not going to push it to the point of failure. I'm going to take what that animal gives me, and then I'm going to hold up and wait for something more to develop. And I notice, those patience and the patience waiting for the right angle and the right shot. I've just got way more comfortable being in bow range. And that red stag that I killed, I was in range of that thing for 30 minutes before I finally put a perfect arrow through his lungs. And he was roaring like a madman. And at one point, dude, I had him at 45 yards broadside, but he was walking, looking in my direction. And then when he stopped, he looked like right in my direction. And I just knew that if I try to make my move now, I may get drawn, I may get an arrow in him, but he's going to see me move, and I have a chance of blowing that red stag out. Where if I don't make a move right now, so he's 45 yards broadside, clear open path to his vitals, and I just sat there and I didn't move a muscle. And I just waited because I knew he was looking at me. Could I have got away with it? Maybe, but I may have spooked him, and instead I ended up having him walk by me at about 18 yards and put a perfect arrow into him just by continuing to be patient, waiting for the right angle, the right shot, the right time to bend my limbs. And so, yeah, just the longer I do this, I think the better I'm getting at it. And that's, I think, the goal is to be a student of the game and constantly learning and improving.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. There's as we do this, the more that we do it, especially in shot situations like you're talking about, it's almost like you hurry up. I don't know. My mindset's kind of like super aggressive and then complete halt. Like as soon as that you get in within weapon range, I guess, it's like you're going so fast, and then you slow to almost a complete stop, and then you let your mind. I mean, we talked about autopilot. Kind of go into that autopilot of just like feeling out the animal, their mannerisms, which way they're looking, just the way the wind's moving. Being able to feel all those senses, and then, if you do all that, hopefully it comes together. But yeah, man, it's I'm so excited. It's gonna be fun, and I'm I really appreciate everything you guys do. I mean, I appreciate talking to you, and it's been great. It's been really, really good. So,
dude, likewise, I love having you on. So, yeah. Keep after those bucks, and I'll check in with you here come season, and let's get an update from you and hear how those hunts went with those different weapon styles. But yeah, man, I'm cheering for your success. Keep at it, man.
We'll see. So we'll see how it goes. That's my goal. So if I can drop 3 180s, I mean, I'll be on cloud 9, man. That'll be one of the most. And if I can film it, that would be really, really cool too. It could be the trifecta. So pretty neat.
Yep, that's it. Well, thanks a bunch, buddy. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll catch up with you soon, and keep after him.
Okay, sounds good, Brian. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, bye. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Yeah, really fun conversation with Matt. I really like that guy, and sure we'll see his continued success this season on Muley. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure to go follow him at his IG. Send him a note if you like the podcast. Really helps with getting good guests on the podcast. So thanks to that. Thanks to you guys for all the support. Support and shares on IG really help. And then reviews on iTunes and things of that nature. So I really appreciate you guys listening in each and every week. I want to thank our sponsors. So I want to thank Savage. Again, check those things out. So accurate right out of the box. Also, make sure to check out Silencer Central. They have that backcountry banish, which I think is a great silencer for hunting. And I think there's a bunch of benefits too. So check those guys out. Black Ovis. Check out Camo Fire. And everything we're doing at Eastmans, Dan and I's new podcast, Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal, Life of a Bow Hunter. Again, it's on a different feed you have to search for. Mule Deer course, put in the promo code BrianMDC, and everything we have going over there at Eastman's. So, man, with that, just kind of getting back to it here. We've done the Western Hunting Summits the last couple weekends with Lampers, which has been great to connect with those guys and going on adventure, and it's also helped my shooting those 3D courses and things of that nature. So, yeah, man, it's been really fun, and yeah, just looking to kind of get back into a routine and really peak my training here in the next month or so. Season is just not that far off, so trying to get everything in order here as far as work and family and fitness and shooting and everything, and we'll hit the ground running. So I know I'm super excited for some of these adventures coming up. So I'm sure you guys are too. That's why while you're listening to this podcast and trying to improve your skills. So again, I really appreciate the support, guys. And with that, I'll check in with you next week.